Holy Spirit. As we rapidly approach the great feast day which we are all waiting for, the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. And as each year we hear the Sundays specially dedicated to strengthen us to be prepared to accept that resurrection, this week we have brought forth St. John of the Ladder, whom you could consider to be the quintessential spiritual psychologist of Orthodox life. Indeed, those of you who have read his book, or even parts of it, will see in how easily he gets to the bottom of the matter of the behavior of human beings. Like a hot sword through wax, he gets to the bottom of things. No extra words, no long-winded sermons or proclamations, but straight. And so it should be, because in essence spiritual life is close to each and every one of us. And therefore we need to know that even better than we know the material side of ourselves. Today, the world tries to invent new names for different types of human behavior. AHAD or something, ADD and all this and all that. There's nomenclatures being thrown around all over the place. And they have certain meanings, deficit disorders or something like that. The strange thing is, who has the right and who has taken upon themselves to call these things disorders? Who? Our spiritual father taught that, and it's expounded by all the saints, that each human being is unique, has unique talents, a unique way of approaching things, thinks in a unique way, does things in unique ways, lives a unique life. And there is no, like, regular model of what we would call a psychological human being, except one. Except one. And that one is the one that is keeping the Lord's commandments. That's the only model of psychology, psychiatry, philosophy, of anything else that is important to a human being. Are they keeping the Lord's commandments? And the more they keep the Lord's commandments, the more they get to understand their own particular type of behavior and the behavior of others, and the more they will see that they are unique to others and have no need to try to model themselves upon anyone else except that one who is also keeping the commandments. That's the important thing. Some people are very creative and perhaps impulsive and open their mouth before they should, things like this. But that is not a sickness that should go into the annuals of psychiatric medicine and be treated by pills or whatever like that. That's the person's character. That's the way they are. And you may not even go along with that character. That is, you may not gel with a character like that. And that's okay too. You don't have to, because everybody is different. But don't be fooled by all these other types of things that are brought up. Numerous things. There's just, someone likes to scribble pictures of something, and immediately they are branded with some sort of psychotic, not maybe disease, but some sort of psychotic problem. There's a very good movie which I would really like you all to borrow, find, go on YouTube or whatever to see. It's called Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. It's a story about an ordinary man who lives in an American village, and one of his relatives leaves him many millions of dollars, and he has to cope with the consequences of that. And being a right-believing, God-fearing person who tries to keep the commandments, he can see through the fallen characters of those around him and what they really want out of life, and in particular out of him being part of his wealth. And he gives names to those sorts of things for the psychologists and the psychiatrists to ponder upon. And that's quite amazing. Today they will take brain scans whilst they ask you various questions and see which part lights up, which part is dim, and then they make all these assessments about whether you need psychological treatment or not. Fact of the matter is, everybody needs psychological treatment, and that treatment is called the commandments of our Lord. That's the treatment that we need. The keeping of those commandments. Once they are kept, the psychological aspects, behavioural aspects of human beings begin to fall into place and begin to be understood. And we don't need fancy names for what I call it, distraction, I don't know, sickness or whatever. Because all that boils down again to the fact that somewhere along the lines a person is incomplete in the way they keep the commandments, and that is what causes the sickness. Just like we get sick through exposure to bacteria, through injuries, and through other physical phenomena, psychologically we get sick also through exposure to that which is not in line with Christ's commandments. Some more than others, some terribly more than others. But if you stop and think for a moment, and especially if you study the books like the one written by St. John of the Ladder, whom we commemorate on this Sunday of Great Lent, you'll see that indeed it's not as complicated as it's made out to be. Behind nearly every one of them is some form of pride. So many different forms of pride that it's almost an impossible battle. Of course, as it says, and as we read, that without God those battles are impossible, but with God they're possible. St. John makes the point, when I do something, I feel proud. And when I don't do something, I feel proud too, in a different sort of way. And on it goes. And you can't just snap your finger and get rid of that, because it is a sickness that lives in you. Sickness. You can't take a pill to get rid of it. A pill might be able to lessen the impact of it upon you, but it won't cure you of that particular sickness. The only thing that will is a continual striving to keep God's commandments. And that way, you automatically become a psychologist, and a good one at that, a psychiatrist, being able to see other people's behaviour, being able to find out what some of their secret thoughts might be, and it also therefore becomes a way by which you might be able to save yourself from a lot of trouble by getting involved with deceptible characters, con artists, con people, who have learnt how to manipulate fallen human nature for their own benefit. And because a person is fallen and can't see really what they're doing, thus they can easily fall for that. I'm sure that a person who regularly prays properly and strives to keep the commandments, doesn't fall for that, chases those type away with a stick, as is rightfully so. So there we have it. What a wonderful thing the Lord has given us during this Lenten period. A way into understanding human nature from its spiritual point of view. understanding what it is supposed to be like, and understanding where it falls short. And therefore, just like somebody who physically wants to improve them, thus a person, if they want to, can strive to improve themselves spiritually. To start with St. John of the Ladder's book is a wonderful thing, because it is so easy to read. It's a short book, divided up into small chapters, and as they say, you can chew a little bit at a time each day. If you haven't done that, I beg you to do it, and you will see for yourself how it will form your character and change your life for the better, and bring forth so that you can